Welcome back to another episode of MJ's Progress Not Perfection. Today's guest is Hannah. Hannah and I discuss her years of drug use, different raids that she was part of. And yeah, I said raids with an S because she has been part of different situations where she was raided more than one time. It's definitely a wild story, but it's her story. And she's doing great right now. And we talk all about that, especially her before and after, which is what got my attention in the first place. We're part of an opiate group together on Facebook. She posted her before and after when she celebrated 3 years sober. And I just said, like, holy shit, I gotta talk to this girl and I gotta find out more about this story. So here we are, and here's the story. Welcome to the show, Hannah.
Hi.
So I am so glad that we were able to figure this out, because like, you're on work release?
Yeah.
So you have like a certain schedule of when you're home and when you're there?
Yeah. So I go back Tuesday nights and I'm like in the facility till Thursday mornings.
Okay, so like 2 nights there and 5 nights at home?
Yeah.
And they're like probably strict with monitoring, like making sure that when you get picked up, it's like,
So I don't know. It's like no consistency, honestly, so it's hard to say. Um I don't know. They like pick and choose.
okay.
But
Well,
they enforce
you're
they enforce
you're
it.
yeah, you're working a program at least, so at least you have some kind of, restraint. And how much time do you have now clean?
So on the 12th I had 3 years.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So, and you're clean from what pills did you have to like detox from, or not pills, but medicines, drugs, or you
um
detoxing from?
I mean from heroin, and then like I was a big like crack smoker and I was shooting coke and pretty much everything.
Just put whatever was put in front of you.
Yeah.
Now, what grabbed my attention from you is the before and after that I will be showing on the screen right now,
Yeah.
because it is pretty dramatic. Like
Yeah.
you look amazing now. I don't know if anyone's told you that. So that before I had read something that you were arrested with like $82,000 worth of drugs.
Yeah. That's what they
Yeah,
say. That's what they say. Yeah.
that's what they say. I mean, the numbers, 295 grams of dope, and I think it was 265 of crack and 60 grams of coke.
Yeah.
That adds up.
Yeah, it does.
That adds up. So, what were you doing to accumulate that kind of weight?
So it's like where I live is a smaller area, and people have been coming here from like New York City, like Jersey City, all of those places for as long as like I can remember, um, to sell drugs. So I just always got involved with those people, and then it became easier for me to have whatever I needed to get high and to sell whatever I needed to stay high.
So, okay, we'll backtrack then. When did you start like discovering drugs or alcohol?
Um, in high school, I'd say like my sophomore year, like when I was 15, um, I was like drinking every weekend and smoking weed, and then like we would be popping ecstasy a lot of the time on the weekends. And then the night I graduated high school is the first night I graduated at 17. So at 17, that was the first night I did like cocaine.
Okay.
And then like from there, like I would smoke crack sometimes, and then opioids really became a problem probably a couple of years after that.
So, coke I can see being thrown around in graduation parties and stuff like that. But how does crack get introduced? Because that's not like usually a party drug.
I think I always hung out with like a lot of older people, like my cousins and their older friends, and they would have it around like when we were partying and stuff. So like that's kind of how that happened, and it wasn't an everyday thing then, and that didn't even happen until probably after like I was addicted to heroin.
Oh, okay. So you discovered heroin before you got really into crack.
Yeah.
How did you discover was it just people you were hanging out with again and they did it and you were just like, that looks interesting?
So where I live on the Canadian border, there's um the Oxy 80s, like the CDMs were really big. like the green ones, if you remember, and you have to take the coating off. So those were like really big then. Like everybody was doing them here.
Oh, so how old are you then? Because you don't look like you're in your 30s, but that you would have to have been.
I just turned 30 September 4th.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, because like, for those who don't know, like the green coating, like that coating on the 80s, that went away in like 2009.
Yeah.
So, which means you were like 19, which makes sense. 18,
Yeah.
19 when they went away, and then you probably were like, well, I guess I'm just gonna go straight to dope now.
Yeah. So those people who were coming up from the cities, like always bringing like they were bringing just coke for like years. Like that's what people were doing. Were partying, doing like coke. So when the CDMs went away is when they started bringing up heroin kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense because
Yeah.
a lot of people either went to 30s or they went to dope,
Yeah.
depending on like what their standards or not standard but rules were. Because a lot of us addicts, you had rules for yourself,
Yeah.
and then other addicts were, you know, what I've been told is garbage addicts were like put it in front of me and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I think I've heard that term from like four different people I've interviewed. Oh, I was a garbage junkie. Put it in front of me and I would do it. So, when did it take long for you to know that you were like an addict, like you were addicted?
I think it did. So in the beginning, even I didn't use like oxys every day. I was using them with my son's father. And then my like addiction didn't escalate really until after I had him. I was like 21. I had him when I was 21, and Eddie, my son's father, was in and out of jail, and I was working 3 jobs. And that's like when it escalated for me. Like that September, I want to say I started shooting up. Um,
So you were like pretty good for 9 months then.
yeah,
Yeah, you were like safe, like you were like being like safe, like you wanted to make sure you were like, and you were working hard, having 3 jobs.
yeah,
Drug addicts don't work 3 jobs usually.
yeah,
That's just somebody who's trying to provide for their kid. But I could see if the ex was in and out of jail, then that would have been stressful. And then postpartum itself, like, did you experience any postpartum?
it's hard to say because like when you're using like that, you don't really see like what's really there. So I don't even know,
Yeah,
honestly.
because I could see the stress of him being in and out being a lot to weigh on top of when a lot of mothers according to my wife, because I don't know shit, I'm a man, I never had a kid, but according to my wife, a lot of mothers don't even know they're having postpartum until it's even too late. So
Right.
you could have been medicating for baby dad being in jail and then actually compensating for postpartum while medicating.
Yeah.
So I could see it escalating between stress of both. But you had to help with the kid though, at least with him being in and out.
Yeah, I lived at that time I lived with my parents and they've always been a big help. So,
Well,
yeah.
that's good then that they were able to like watch over him this way. You didn't have to like feel like you were being neglectful.
Yeah.
Like that had to, like I'm sure that's helpful because a lot of people they're like I don't know I had to give up rights and I didn't. Did you go home a lot or were you staying out?
No, so then even like in the beginning, like I went home every night. It was just kind of like I always made sure I had enough dope to get up in the morning and to like um go to work, and then I waitress, so I always had money at the end of the night. So you know what I mean? It was just like a vicious cycle.
And then eventually, did you like buy from somebody that you didn't realize was high? Like, what? How did it like you all of a sudden go from working a bunch just to support your habit and your kid to like, I'm gonna be full fledged into this life? Did you meet somebody at some point?
I don't know if I can really pinpoint it. I know at one point, me and Eddie, my son's father, we were like working together with like guys from New Jersey. And then after that, when I had stopped working, yeah, I stopped working and we were like selling stuff for people in New Jersey. And then I ended up getting indicted on a sales charge, just me. And that was in like 2015 or 16 or something. And I went to jail for like 2 weeks for the first time. It was horrible. And I
Is it
ended
the
up
same jail you're in now?
no, this was like county jail.
Okay, okay.
So I ended up getting drug court, and I went to a 30-day treatment program in Buffalo. Then I went to a long-term inpatient, Horizon Village in Sanborn, New York, which is really awesome there. And then I ended up doing a halfway house in Syracuse for a few months. And I was on drug court doing really well. I was on Vivitrol actually at the time. And then I moved home and started dating a guy who sold drugs for whatever reason. It's always like this problem I have. And I did fine for a little while, but still was like breaking rules, old behaviors and stuff. So I eventually started using again. And actually, what happened was we ended up doing like Molly or something, and I was on drug court. And I took a drug test and I failed for Coke. And I was like, what? Like, I really didn't even do that. So they ended up recommending long term treatment again. And I'm like, I'm not doing that again. So I just went totally full fledged until they picked me up on the drug court warrant.
Oh, so when you got arrested later on, like with everything, you already had a warrant against you.
I was already a convicted felon. So I ended up like pleading out to a county year. So I ended up doing like the 8 months in county jail. And that was like, I got home on like no papers or anything. And that was in September 2017. That was all said and done.
Okay, and then you went right back into it again.
Pretty much like that first weekend home, I believe I was smoking crack, and I didn't go like full fledged into everything, but I was going out like to the bars a lot. Um,
Well, how were those 8 months then? Because like if it doesn't seem like it really effective, you're just like right like you know what, I'm good, I'm right back in it.
uh,
Not to say that you didn't learn your lesson, but but you did get right back into what got you there.
yeah, no, I learned my lesson, and um, I don't know, county just wasn't a big deal to me. I just didn't.
The
And
first
the
2 weeks were
goal,
scary, but the last 8 months were easy.
huh?
The first 2 weeks sucked, but the last
Yeah,
8 months were easy.
I already adjusted, and I was like, whatever, I don't care. Send me to jail is what I told them. So
Well, I guess like if when you did your 2 weeks, did you know it was going to be 2 weeks, or that all of a sudden they were like, okay, you can go home now?
no, I didn't know it was going to happen. I remember I had found out I had like an indictment. So I actually went and turned myself in, and I was like, I'm going to be released Monday at court because I don't have a criminal record at all, not even a misdemeanor. They're going to let me go. And I remember I was at the courthouse, and my lawyer who took my case, he was like, no, you're not going home. I was like, what do you mean I'm not going home? Like tears in my eyes, everything. I was like, what? So yeah, but then I'm like in a small area, and I know everybody in the county jail. The officers went to high school with my parents, like, you know what I mean? So it wasn't that
People
serious.
started vouching for you, and all of a sudden, like they let you go early. Not early, but like after 2 weeks.
No, so I did like the drug court evaluation, and they released me to treatment.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I guess the 2 weeks would feel longer. At least like when you get 8 months, you're like, okay, I have 8 months. Let's
Yeah.
go. 8 months, let's do it. As opposed to those 2 weeks could feel like forever when you don't know when it's going to end.
Yeah.
So
And
I
they're
could see that's
up
why.
9 years for each felony, and you're like, what? Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
For what? I was just selling and doing drugs, a lot of them.
Yeah.
All right, so now you're out of 8 months. Not learn your lesson, and you're like right back in. When you started dating this new dude. Did you already know that he sold drugs before you were like, yes, I'll date you, sir? Or was it like, oh, I'll date you? Oh my God, he sells drugs, but I like him already, so I'll stick around.
So that was when, so that was before the 8 months, right? Because what had happened
What had happened
was I had started using again, and his house got raided, and I was there. So then they
how
put
was that
out,
experience?
um, it was like federal, so it really sucked.
Can you tell me some of it? Because I don't hear a lot of federal raids.
So I was there. It was actually the day after Valentine's Day, and I remember I was asleep, and I heard him like banging around the house, and I get up and like, what's going on? He's like, the cops are out front. So I had already like started using, so I assumed it was for me. I was like, I'll just go downstairs and say like, You can take me or whatever, it's fine. He's like, no, we're not doing that. I was like, okay. So he starts like emptying out the safe, and there's like a door connected to the other apartment. It's like weird how it was set up. So he was like putting everything down there. I remember like handing him all the stuff, and like, so I closed the door and put him, and he stayed back there. So when the cops came in, it was just me sitting there, right? So they're like, Hannah, what the fuck? They know me obviously too. It was
Not your first rodeo.
no, the town police and like Homeland Security or whatever they do. And I remember they came in and the Homeland Security guy is like cuffing me, and he was like, do you want to go to jail? This and that. Have you ever been to jail? And the cops are like, oh, she's been all right. And I remember they're like, what'd they say? Jamal. And like, that wasn't even his name. I was like, who the fuck's Jamal? Like, what? So eventually they ended up figuring it out anyways. They went into the other apartment. So we went to jail, and because it wasn't my place, I actually got released. But then there was the warrant circulating for breaking my drug court contract, obviously. So when I went to court, it was like a big deal because they're like, you were found in an apartment with whatever 60 grams of coke, whatever it was, 2 loaded guns. And I was like, oh god. And then you told your outpatient counselor, told her you would rather be incarcerated. It's like, okay, great. So that's when I knew
You're going to be incarcerated.
Yeah.
So wait, you got caught with 60 grams of coke twice?
Well,
Because that's not the raid that's not the same raid that you're in jail for now.
no.
So technically you were in a place where you had 60 grams, because that report said 60 grams of coke. Like I found the picture and like in the article that I'm gonna put up here so like they can see. Yeah. There was 60 grams of coke then, so that means that's so like coincidental that like you had that amount
I'd have
twice.
to look up to see exactly. Maybe it was 40 or 60.
But still, you had weight. You know what I mean? That's weight. That's not like a little bit. That's like, a couple ounces, right? Yeah, I'm doing a math right. And 28. Yeah. It's so funny that the only reason I know ounces and those conversions is because of drugs. Yeah. Like I wouldn't know those. I didn't know those conversions in school. So you're like, all right, send me to jail. I'm gonna go to jail. And did you ever see Goodfellas?
No, actually.
Okay, there's a great line where Ray Liotta gets in the cop car and he's like, all right, send me to jail. Like, take me to jail. Like, he's okay with it. He's like, all right, take me to jail. Because, like, that was, like, his home away from home at that point. Yeah. Just to, like, get away and, like, reset the mind. Mm-hmm. Funny enough that jail in real life is actually, like, a half an hour from me in Pennsylvania. That's where they sent all the Italian mafia guys from New York always. Really? Yeah, Lewisburg jail in Pennsylvania is like a half an hour from me, and that's where like a lot of mafia people went back in the day because it's a federal prison. So now you did your 8 months and you get out and you just get right back with your boyfriend that you got arrested with.
No, he went to the feds for some time.
Oh, okay.
So that was like really short-lived. Then I just got out and was doing my own thing. Going out on the weekends, drinking.
Yeah, what do your parents think? Are you the only addict in the family?
In my like direct, like my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, yes. I have other cousins though who are addicts.
So were they like experienced at all in this, or were they like really like lost in what was going on with you?
I think my mom's like done a lot of like educating herself throughout like different groups and stuff on Facebook she's a part of. But I don't know. I think I'm like, oh, it's fine. I can just go out. It's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. I'm going out for the weekend. And then it just kind of escalated, and there was nothing they could really do or say, I guess.
I could see that. You get to a point where, like, if your mom's the type person where she's educating herself, like Al-Anon and Facebook kind of support, then she knows that she can't interfere because it'll just push you away further. So all she can really do is kind of sit back and hope that everything falls apart, but you don't get hurt. And then this way you can, what happened, basically. So she definitely played it right because you definitely could have been, like, pushing her away. So luckily you knew you had a safe space to go if you needed one.
Well, eventually there came a time that year I was home where she completely kicked me out and was like, you have to go. you just have to go. So I remember packing a duffel bag and just like going to one of the local spots and staying there, and like all like the boys from Jersey are there, and I just got like close to them. So I was just always allowed there. You know what I mean? So I just stayed there with them, and then I eventually got my own place with one of them, and then things just escalated.
That makes a lot of sense because that's what they tell everybody in their support groups is, and that's what I tell parents today. That's what you have to do is you give them space, and then if they keep on taking advantage of it, you have to kick them out.
Yeah.
You have to take action, and
Yeah.
you can't enable and you can't let them just continue to stay there, but you want to give them space first, and then you kick them out.
Yeah.
So she definitely played that perfectly, like out of the handbook of how you play. Any parents are
Yeah.
watching, they're confused. You give them space and you kick them out if they're still living there. Definitely don't try to tell them what to do because it's gonna go really bad. That's when people overdose. I think when they're really rebelling against like the rules, what their parents are saying is when they really go harder. But I
Yeah.
think we don't have when you don't have that shame or guilt as much every time that your parents are laying on you, then you don't actually go as hard.
Right.
I don't know. It's just like one of those things that I've noticed. So yeah, definitely don't try to push your kids into rehabs because they're not going to take it serious, and let them want to go because it's not. Yeah. So now you're just like now because I know how those Jersey guys are. I grew up in Jersey. I did all of my drug use in Jersey pretty much. Even when I lived in Pennsylvania, I was traveling to Jersey to buy. So I do know like how as a Jersey person, how you want to gravitate towards somebody who's local if you're out of the area, and have them kind of show you the ropes, making sure that like you have a local on your side. So I'm not even surprised whatsoever that they found someone like you willing to be like, yep, I got you. I'm loyal, and I'll take a drug rap for you. Let's do it.
Right.
Like you were ready to take a drug rap for your ex that you barely were with.
Um.
Like he said, no, you're not going to say the drugs are yours. And when he went hiding in the other apartment, like you were ready to say, oh, I'll just tell him these are mine.
Yeah.
That's a loyal person that you'd want, on your side as a drug dealer.
Right.
So I'm not surprised that they're like, yeah, Hannah, come on down. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you can stay
And
with
like
us.
this time, they're like, you can tell on everyone that you're working with, and we'll send you the shock 6 month long program boot camp, and you can be home. I was like, no. And the lawyer's like, and then when I went to court, I was like, what about 4 years instead of 5? And the judge is like, we gave you an offer, and that's it, and that's all pretty much. You're getting 5 years. Or you can choose the alternative.
So that was what time?
This time.
Okay, so how
Um,
long were you living with those dudes before you got arrested in 2018?
2018.
Did you got arrested September 2018?
Yep.
Okay, and 2017 is when you did your 8 months.
Is when I got released for my 8 months. So I was home
Oh,
like a year, and that was it.
so,
So pretty
and
much, probably the 6 to 7 months. Um, I was working with them.
you had to have been going hard that summer leading up to September for you to look the way you did in the before.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like, what do you like consider like bad for like use wise? Like, I was doing like sometimes 6 to 8:30s a day. So like, and I talk to people. They're like, oh, I did like 20 to 30 milligrams of Xanax every day. It's like that's a lot. Like what do you consider like bad that summer?
Um, it's so hard to even put a number on it. It was just like constant, and I had it at my disposal. Like I could do whatever I wanted. Had the code to the safe. You know what I mean? Um,
So
so
you weren't really having to be like, oh, I'm gonna buy 3 grams a day because you just had it in front of you in bulk to just go at your speed of whatever you wanted all day long and just stay high.
and they trusted me. You know what I mean? Like they were always like, give her what she wants because she comes correct every time. So I just did what I wanted.
Yeah,
Um,
it's easy to go on a crazy run when you don't have to pay for it. Really, all you have to do is like sell it to continue using it. Like that's not impressive. It's the first word that popped in my head. But like but that's the thing is like a lot of people they're like they struggle. They'll have to sell their bodies. They'll have to be in sex trafficking. They'll have to steal, rob. Do whatever they have to do.
mhm.
And you're just like, oh, I just sell it and I can just keep on doing it.
Yeah.
and basically selling to be able to use for free.
Yeah.
You're using your profits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that easily can get out of hand extremely fast. So now, what happens the day you're arrested? What's going on that day?
So we had been in like Jersey for like a few weeks actually before that. We were just getting everything together, and we decided like today would be the day we're gonna come up. Was it a few weeks? No, that was before that. We had lost our house and stuff where I live because we were in Jersey for a few weeks. So we came back to my town the first time and ended up staying at this kid's house, another like kid that I knew, and he came to Jersey with us to like go back. And then when we came back up that day, we got raided. We were in my town for like maybe 2 hours before like the cops hit the door. But I remember like, so I actually have two co-defendants. Um, Jay, the one from Jersey, and then Dale, who was like my friend, who like, I smoked crack with, and he like ran shit for me and did whatever I needed basically. So I remember Jay was asleep on the couch, and I was going to meet somebody to grab weed for him. And I walk outside, and the landlord was there, and he's like, we don't want what's going on here going on, and this and that. So I remember I turned around, and I was thinking in my head, like, it's time to go. So I went in, and I was like about to like get Jay up. I remember I was about to take a hit of crack, and before I even knew it, the cops were. I heard them say Messina PD, and I was like, fuck. So I pick up everything I could in my arms, and we had just gotten back, so we had all of it. And I'm friggin' trying to flush like the bags of crack, but they're like 100-gram bags, and it did not work. The cops saw me flushing the shit and pretty much tackled me down. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? So that's where my additional like felony came from.
Is that tampering with evidence?
Yeah.
And yeah, I was gonna say trying to flush that would be evidence. So yeah, that makes sense, and that's a federal offense.
Yeah, everything we were charged state. Like, remember my lawyer saying, like the feds wanted to pick the case up because I knew like the state lines thing and the amount of weight it was. But because I don't know, it's like weird how it worked because of I ended up signing a plea deal before that could happen, and I guess if that happens, they can't. And I did that because of the person I am. I was worried about my co-defendant because he's already done like 3 bids, and if the feds picked it up, it would have been like serious time. They have like 5-year mandatory minimums, and like I know how that works. I've already dealt with it. So I ended up signing the plea for 5 like pretty quickly.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because they could have still they would have to jump through hoops to take it over. Mm-hmm. But by the time they jump through the hoops, if you already signed for the plea deal, they can't reinvestigate a case that's been closed.
Right.
Especially when you sign a plea deal, it's not even closed and they lost. It's we won, we got a plea deal. Yeah. So that's better that you end up just getting state charges because they easily could have hit federal for a lot of those too.
Yeah, but
going from Jersey to New York, they're crossing state, like you said. Yeah.
My lawyer was like, I can get you a better deal, federal. And I was like, I'm not even going there. And
yeah, because federal probation sucks. Like, I know a guy that comes here sometimes, and he's on federal probation. When he was drunk and he was mad at his girlfriend and he decided to drive down to his friends in Virginia, and we're in PA, and he got off the wrong exit when he was drunk. Like, he was just drinking and driving. He was on a bender. Got off the wrong exit, ended up at a military base, and he couldn't turn around because he was already too far into it. And because he got off the wrong exit, he thought he was going the right way. And they're like, "Are you drunk?" So he got a DUI on a military base, so it became a federal offense. And now he's on federal probation.
Wow.
So even though he has a medicinal marijuana card, he can't use it because of federal probation doesn't recognize it, as opposed to Pennsylvania probation would have recognized it and let him use it.
Yeah, like regular state parole in New York State, you can smoke weed now. Like even with But I can a work release inmate. Like for me, it's different because I have work parole.
And you have to be careful though too, as like an addict. Like I use cannabis in my recovery. I went to a rehab in Los Angeles called High Sobriety, and they taught me how to change my relationship with it. So like I've been using it since the very beginning, so I'm a little more confident and not like wanting to chase higher. But on
Yeah.
top of that, like I don't smoke because like you, I was addicted to everything right away.
Mhm.
Like I snorted, I didn't eat it because I wanted to feel it right away. I would chug my drink and not sip it because I
Right.
wanted. So like I don't smoke weed because I don't want the instant gratification because that would send off those whatever my brain whatever be like, oh, okay, we want it right away again. So
Yeah.
now I just use like I microdose with edibles so
Yeah.
that I take it and then I wait and then it doesn't even get me high. Like you wouldn't even know that I use it if I didn't tell you and I wasn't so
Right.
open about it. So yeah, it is definitely something to be careful about, even getting into using it in your recovery. And I'm really open about. I do support it. Obviously, I'm a product of it, but
Mhm.
it's not for everybody.
Right.
And it's definitely something that needs to have a lot of caution and a lot of openness with at least one person, like a sponsor or something that somebody that you trust, because it can easily take you back into a a binge or a bender if you're not careful with it. So just a heads up on anybody that's thinking about using cannabis in your recovery. I do support it, but only like in the sense that other people know you're doing it and you're being open with how you're using it
Mhm.
and what it's making you feel like, because that's important. Oh, honesty in your recovery is important, I think. So now you're arrested. What's changed for you this time as opposed to before? Like, why is it working?
Um. So as soon as they hit the door, I knew I was about to go to state prison. I knew there was no other way. Obviously, so I was already a convicted felon. Um. It's like hard to say when I got to county and I remember initially I was trying to get out. I just wanted someone to bail me out. I just wanted to like keep doing what I was doing. Nobody bailed me out. So I sat and waited and waited. And then sometime in that time I just had a complete like change in like my thinking. And I was like, I really just cannot live like this anymore. Like my son's getting older. He's gonna remember things now. And it's tough even and then when I'm in controlled environments, I don't ever get high anyways. Anytime I've been to like jail and stuff, I don't get high like that. Even if it's there, I just don't.
Oh, so you were clean those 8 months that you did before.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yep.
those 2 weeks you did before. You
Yep.
were good. Okay, so I've heard it both ways for sure. Like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I was fucked up the entire time in
Yeah.
jail. And then there's people like you where you're like, I couldn't enjoy it. I wasn't gonna do it. I was just waiting it out.
Yeah.
Is that are they back again at the feds? That's the way you were looking out the window, like, oh shit,
At the door.
someone's here. We gotta get
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
Yeah, flashbacks.
Yeah.
Um, so now, did you decide? Are you working a program at all, or are you doing the Vivitrol shot? Which route you going?
Um, I'm not on any. Hey, Dad, can you tell Timmy Carson's? Can you get this? Yeah, before the dog barks. Um, So no, I'm not on any meds. Well, I'm on like mental health meds. So like there's like the Office of Mental Health in state prison here. So I'm on like anxiety and depression stuff.
So you're
Um
dual diagnosed, then you have some mental health stuff on top of.
yeah. Yeah, so I take like Prozac, Buspar, Visceral, but my new psychiatrist thinks I have like a thing called cyclothymia. What it's called? Cyclothymia. Cyclothymia. So it's like low grade, like kind of bipolar because my like mood swings don't last like you know how like bipolar one they last for like months at a time. People are in like these manic highs or these manic lows. Like quickly it can be like hours where like my mood's like up here, down here. It's like very quick thing. So she was like, we can put you on a mood stabilizer for it, or we can just wait and see. Because this is like finally like 3 years later, I'm like, I'm still feeling these things. Like I think I have something else. So my new psychiatrist, that's what she thinks. But I was like, I don't really want to be on any meds right now, any other meds. So I'm just like dealing with it.
Yeah, because you could always also work through things in therapy, maybe
Yeah.
like where you can like, or even like if eventually if you want to do the steps, you could probably work through stuff in the steps where you can like find out where there's some like deeper things.
Mm.
Because I know that helped with me. You know, like I don't have that where I'm not bipolar, but still I had stuff I had to work through.
Right.
You know, when I got sober, it wasn't just that I had to stop using drugs and alcohol. I had to like learn why I was using drugs and alcohol. You know, and so excessively, because there was always something that's like deeply rooted. It's not just straight a party thing.
Right.
It is eventually a medicating thing. So, and I feel like a lot of addicts are empaths. A lot of the ones, at least I talk to, and I
Yeah.
feel like we all like, since we feel everybody else's pain,
Yes.
it's so heavy on us that we have to like take it away somehow.
Mhm.
And people that
That's,
aren't empaths, they don't feel shit. They're just like, oh, I'm good.
yeah. So crazy. That's like the same thing I think in my head because like I don't know. I've always felt things like so deeply, like people's pain and stuff. It's always just like weighed on me so heavy. I remember since I was like a teenager, like keeping these crazy journals and like I don't know. So
And
just
that's a lot. And it like I that's why I like doing this show is because if I find out and I get to tell the people like you're definitely not alone. I would
hmm
say out of like 30 people that I've talked to in this month, everybody is an empath, if not almost everybody.
right.
Because I've talked to a lot of them about this, like how their feelings weighed and how that contributed. Some
Yeah.
are just like, no, I just need to be fucked up and I had nothing to do with it.
hmm
But most are like us. We're like, oh yeah, like I would always feel, and I still do feel everybody's
Yeah.
pain and all that kind of stuff. And but you learn to like not live with it, but you learn to manage it,
hmm
you know. And it's definitely through being open and honest. Like you just started a new Facebook page, right? Like for a group that I'll put the link if anyone wants to talk about it, and I'll put the link in the bio or
Okay.
description. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So what's it for? What are you trying to accomplish with it? Like,
Well, I just know that like there's so much more that needs to be done. Like people are a lot more aware about addiction now, I think, but still like even talking to people, they're like aware of it, but they're like, I just think it's a sign of being weak. Or like I heard that the other day. Even people who are like in fully support of me, they still don't understand, I don't think. And then just like the daily struggles, like the incarcerated like individuals, um, it's just really hard and I just want to be able to show the world like an insight of what it's like behind the walls, which I'm not completely ready to do yet because I'm still in a program. So it's like this fine line of what can I share and what can I not share because I don't want to lose my programming for it, is that's how they operate. um
but at least
but
you're getting your story out there.
yeah, yeah, and I know like once I'm done this, like I'm gonna do like the peer like educator classes and all that. So it's basically for me just to get like my foot in the door, to spread awareness, to spread my story, and I just want to be able to help people.
That's awesome. And the peer thing is amazing too. Like like to be a peer counselor, right?
Yeah.
Those are so important because number one, I didn't know they existed in addiction. Did you?
No.
No, and I wish I did because I would have felt more comfortable talking to a peer counselor than any therapist or anything
Right.
because they would have felt my struggle. You know, for those who don't know, a peer counselor is somebody who is like a therapist that didn't go to school to be a therapist, but they at least understand you because anybody that you talk to had the same struggles you had.
Right.
So, you know, I just found out about it because of running the mental health center that I run. That we have a few people that come to a lot of meetings, and actually, one of them is on the board for us, and they're a full-time peer counselor. And I just think it's amazing, you know, what they do. So I think it's an awesome program that, you know, not a lot of people know about that more should.
Right.
And if you are watching and you're stuck in active addiction, reach out to a peer counselor, just reach out to somebody. But the peer counselors are definitely awesome to talk to.
Right.
How long is that program with you guys in New York?
What, the
Peer
educator?
counsel. Yeah.
Um, I know there's one like running where I am. It's just like 6 days. Like
Well, yeah, 'cause
two.
your qualifications are all your drug using and what you did. Like those are your qualifications really to be a peer counselor is to have some craziness behind you.
Yeah.
So that
So
was
6 day long thing, I think. But like for me being in work release, like I don't. There's just different rules for everything, so I'm just kind of waiting it out.
that makes sense because not much you can do anyway while you're still.
No.
That makes sense. So, and when are you like, are you out like in 2 years?
So my my merit release date, which is my earliest possible release date, is March 31st, 2022. But then I'll be on regular parole, state parole. I have 3 posts, which would probably end up being a year and a half, but who actually knows? So by like the end of March, I should be like ready to like really like continue my life and to do the things I want to do. Because also like in the state prison, we have like college, and it's like Medaille College through Buffalo. So I got like 36 credits out of the way when I was there. But on work release, they don't let you take classes. So I have to wait to finish that out too.
And what are you going to school for?
I don't know. I change my mind every day.
So you're getting all the general electives out of the way, at least this way.
Yeah.
You can at least do the concentration when you figure it out.
Yeah. It's like all
Well,
the general stuff.
I'm glad we got the chance to sit down and chat.
Yeah.
Like, because, right now, like, I know a lot of people can relate to what you went through and getting stuck in there and, getting not stuck in relationships, but finding relationships that keep you stuck in it.
Right.
So thank you so much, Hannah. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.